Yeah, we got Mr. Bradley Babb on the line right now. I know it might be a little bit distorted if you're having some issues up there. If you hear if it's sounding really distorted, let me know. And you said you were in another meeting. That's why you couldn't get in. So yes, Mr. Bradley, live and direct. Welcome.
Yes, yes, good evening. This is Bradley, and thank you guys for having me. And, I'm from Barbados originally, and I am here to share and express what I'm feeling about everything that's going on. And I know that we have the knowledge inside of us, just we've been taken away from it. So it's time to reawaken the magic that's inside of people.
Yes, sir.
I feel as though what going on, the strange thing that going on is that something don't want what you have to say to be said. So I hoping that our listeners, right? I hoping that our listeners real in tune with the times and what is going on here. So my brother, I can turn it over.
But hang
here.
on, before we go, this is Nadia, so I didn't even introduce you.
Oh, hi.
Hey, Nadia. Bradley. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
This is the beautiful Nadia, and she's the co-host of the show called Fuhtrute. And this, that was my bad. I just kind of jumped right in, and I did not do the introduction.
Well, that's okay. You were saving the day.
Yes, sir. So, Mr. Bradley, just go ahead again and go ahead and tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself. We got some time. We can relax and we can talk. Tell them about you and how you got here today.
Okay. So, in 95, 94, 95, I started working for a bicycle tour company in Barbados. One thing led to the next. I started racing mountain bikes. A couple of years later, I moved to the States, in the Southwest, which a lot of people in the world seem to not know about. People know about New York and they know about California. The Southwest is high desert. That snows. It was all Mexico at one point. Now it's Colorado, Wyoming, all of that. New Mexico.
Right.
And I live in New Mexico. And it's a high desert. Like I said, but yeah, at the same time it snows. So I lived in Durango, Colorado first. One thing led to the next, and now I'm in New Mexico, in Santa Fe. And on that journey, from say 20 years ago, I got introduced to farming and permaculture, and I felt like those are things that I always had inside of me. Just like I was saying, I just needed to be reminded. And it's been my journey to share with the community, whether it's here, whether it's in the Caribbean, wherever I go, to share with the people the magic that they have of simple ways of reintroducing these things in their life that they feel like is so far-fetched. Something as simple as producing your own food, or catching water, or deciding to, I'm not going to buy this thing because or deciding to shop at a different food store. It seemed more expensive. For me, I prefer to pay at the store than to pay at the doctor.
Right,
I'm not
exactly.
I'm not into the doctor vibes.
Very interesting.
So the first line of health insurance is our food. And we have to get onto that. That's the first defense, first line, whatever you want to say, of health insurance is our food. And in a society, the people that has been first at everything has been indoctrinated that things are out of reach. Oh, that belongs to somebody else. You can't have that. And I think that's really like an old way of thinking. We have to realize that, we can have the life that we want, and it's not so out of reach from that only certain group of people deserve to have this life. And it's not about being posh. It's not about showing off. It's just about, for me, it's been about humbleness and just really sharing with the community, like I said, just ways of bettering their life, just simple things.
So tell us a little bit Bradley, about the lifestyle, the food, because you touched a little bit on about the food.
Yeah.
In New Mexico, what's that like in terms of, is it a congested area or is it a free area where people can breathe and actually afford to buy food easily?
Well, I will say there's all of the above, because just like everywhere, there's everything. So there's the farmers market, there's a plethora of health food stores and regular food stores, and I feel like here is a special place because even though it snows in the winter, there's still a lot of sunshine, and I feel like here there's a consciousness of people local, and local meaning just producing your own as much as possible. We don't have to produce everything, so we find different groups of people in our neighborhood that are producing different things, and we start working together in that way.
Okay,
because I know that we have to realize, okay, this is what a friend of mine that's a principal told me. He said, if you're willing to go and work for someone and you are not working for yourself, whether it's planting food, making your house better, reading and following up on certain knowledge of oneself or ancestry or whatever, if you're not working on something for yourself before, during, or after someone else's thing, then you're giving all your magic away.
Oh, very, very interesting. Very interesting. Now,
so you have to be working on something that you can bring to the table, as whether it's in your family, in your friend circle, in your community, in the people that you don't even know that you just come across when you're traveling. That's where how I bring it. For me, that's how I look at it.
Now, Bradley, I listened to you on a podcast some time back, and it was very interesting. And that was one of the reasons that sparked me to try to reach out to you, so you can bring some of this information over to the listeners and to people that we all know and people that are willing to listen and open up the knowledge about certain things. I also know that you have a very enthusiastic approach to marijuana.
Yes, I'm a cannabis activist.
There you go, right?
So I try to support and educate people about cannabis because it's this thing that's been given this stigma, yet it comes from the bush. Yet everybody wants everything that's natural, yet they're still scared of cannabis. And there's this thing about it where, as far as the industry goes, where people say, oh, they're just going to give it to those people. If we don't do anything, they will give it to somebody else. We are at the point where we have to organize, centralize, and sit down and talk with each other seriously about everything. And if it's around cannabis to start, okay, so be it. But we have to talk to each other and realize who has what skill set and who's really willing to work for beyond today,
Absolutely.
So that's my feeling about it in the whole.
I have a question for you, Bradley. So are you aware of any other plant that has been outlawed? Because you could still get poppies and poppy seeds on your bagel and all this kind of stuff. Although there's an opium crisis, right? You could still go and get the actual plant. Do you know of any other plant that has been outlawed?
There's lots of, I don't know the specific herbs, but I know that there's peyote, which is a cactus. And then there's mescaline also, that's a cactus that you have to be in a church, either Native American or First Nation or Aboriginal. I call it from South America. But no, I'm not familiar with other plants in that way as far as being outlawed, no.
Okay. Before I get into the marijuana, I didn't want to get into marijuana because I got so much questions and I got so much stuff I want to talk about.
Fire them off.
But before we get into that, I want to talk about about permaculture, farming, and I
Yeah.
want to talk about your visit to Barbados when you went back after so many years. I want to hear how you felt about the permaculture, what do we call it, opportunity
Mhm.
that is there that
Okay.
you could maybe go ahead and share some information.
Well, first of all, we got a 4 season. We got January to January growing season.
Mm.
First of all,
Mm-hmm.
so there's a huge thing there that we could work with. Okay, what I noticed that there's lots of trees are gone. A lot of water comes from the sky as far as rain, yet there's water shortage. So there needs to be some serious reforestation projects, and not only just reforestation, but food forests. That way, it creates life and biodiversity too. And I know that there's a huge, if you would want to say, movement in that area of reforestation and land restoration. And I know by doing those two things, the water crisis that we're having on the island, it would start to reverse. We, as a people, we've been disconnected about time because everybody's on the clock of something or the other, got to get somewhere, got to go somewhere. And there's this documentary about, what is it called? It's called Hope in a Changing Climate or something like that. And they did it in Ethiopia, they did it in Jordan, they did it in China, and I think they're doing it in other parts of the world. And they went in and they basically stopped the people from degrading the land, stopped all the domesticated animals from going on the land for 5 years. And before they planted anything in some of these areas, a lot of the native species came back.
Oh, I see.
So we have to start looking at it like that. Like, okay, let's take for instance all those old sugarcane fields in the countryside that are just sitting there. I mean, some of them it's grass. That's really good because that's the first sign of remediation.
I see.
That grass is growing back.
Right.
Because think of the degradation that has happened for how many hundreds of years of pesticides and whatever else on those lands. So the fact that there's grass there now, we have to come up with some strategies of how to reinstall or to replant the native forest and food forest at the same time.
I see. Now,
And I know by that, something that as simple as that everybody overlooks, because we're looking to the moon for the answer. We're looking to the moon for the answer, and it's right at our feet.
now I got a question in regards to that. So, do you when you were there, did you get the sense? Did you get the sense that people cared about that stuff, or they just wasn't really on that tip?
They do. People do care about it. They need examples because we're so conditioned that we're in a visual society. Everything's visual. The phone, Facebook, everything. Where they're looking. That people, not just in Barbados, but in different parts here too, people need an example. So it would take like a crew of people coming in, whether it's Bajans and foreigners, whoever, coming in and collaborating together and doing an installation. That way people had an example, because I feel when I was there, people are ready. They are ready. They just want somebody to lead the way and to give, like I said, to help them remember the knowledge that's inside of them.
But you know, like when you go around the islands, you hear people say, "Man, nobody don't do that no more." You know, people don't fork up, and people don't, you know, it coming out the plastic. You know, it coming from the fast food restaurant. So, what can we do to convince people? Like, do we need more educating? Do we need to change our education system in how we teach youths?
Well, yes, there definitely needs to be a lot more hands-on courses and taking people to the countryside and getting them to do some restoration projects. And I know that by that, and people having that hands-on experience, that is a lot of inspiration.
Yeah.
Because you know, we have to. Somebody has to lead, and somebody has to be willing to be like, hey, let's do this here. Another thing is we have to figure out how to get those lands, the people who own those lands, to donate some of those lands so we can do examples of physical things, like we're a physical example for people to see.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
That was the sense. That was the sense when I got that when I went there. That people want to see something physical, because I was talking to people and they were like, yeah, it would be nice to see that.
Now that must be very difficult, because there are people who notoriously would sit on land for years and years and years and
don't want to sell it, don't want to do nothing with it.
Just sit there and say that's their land.
That's mine. Yeah.
Right, and that's fine. So then we just move on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because for me, we're not trying to own it necessarily, so they could still own it.
Right.
But we're installing a food forest and doing a bunch of like wind swales and land restoration in the landscape. And I know by that, within 5 years, what is going to come out of that space, people's minds will be blown and they'll be like, okay, let's go. Because everything is there. The sun, the soil, we can make all the nutrients, all the debris that has been broken down and turned into mulch. There is so much, all the resources are there. Everything is right there.
You said something that resonated so much with me in terms of that hands-on learning component, because I've been working with youth in Barbados for almost 10 years, and one of the big issues we identified is not having enough hands-on learning. And I came across, I think Dman was showing me this documentary in Barbados with this young man who created like this full ecosystem, starting with the tilapia. He was farming tilapia, and he had the water from the tilapia running through the hydroponics system. So the manure from the fish, I never even considered manure coming from a fish before, right? You normally think with big animals, but he was saying
it's big money. It's big money right now. If you go look online, go look for fish fertilizer online, you'll see.
Oh, really?
It's big money. Oh, yeah. I mean, the cannabis industry, the agriculture industry, there's definitely a percentage of those industries that use fish fertilizer. I've used it.
So there's an opportunity for a lot of people. We just got to start thinking outside the box, right?
Exactly. And we have to not be afraid to get together and talk to each other.
Well, you know, that's interesting, and that's one of the reasons why we started this. And we said, you know what, during this last few months or so, we needed to do something differently, and we can create a platform where we can bring people on the same platform that we're on, that can put their voices up there. If you have some knowledge, if you got business, we just need to put our voices together and make something happen.
Yeah.
Now,
I am seriously willing to share the knowledge that's in me with the people. I am.
Absolutely.
Straight up.
Absolutely.
And that community approach is so important, because I'm working here with a nonprofit right now. They're trying to secure a small set of land from the government to be able to start growing their own food, and we don't have 12 months of arable time. They're trying to start a small community garden to grow their own food in the area, because it is a food desert. So, when we're talking about a tropical island with excess of land, and like you said, water dropping out the sky, how are we culturally creating a food desert when it is not in actual fact a food desert? What do you think about that, Bradley?
It's because, like I said, it's because we've been conditioned to go to the store, and there's been a disconnect between the land, because the land, take for instance, some people's representation of the land is associated with slavery.
I see.
So there's this thing about the land that people don't want to work, and they don't even realize that it's affecting them in that way. Yet everything still comes from the land.
It's true.
So,
it's true.
Like Derek is saying, we have to think out of the box, and we have to push the envelope and be like, okay, hey, this is proven. Here are some statistics. Here are some facts. If we have to do that, then we go get the information.
Absolutely.
And we lay it out.
No, Bradley. So, were you able to go to any other countries or islands? Maybe even speak with any officials in these places?
I worked there. I went to St. Vincent and visit a friend, and I could see that there was people there who were on the same vibe. What I have experienced in this past 20 years, that the cutting edge technology that's in California, Barbados is 50 years behind that. The 20 years that I've been in this country, in America, with yoga and vegan and all of this information about being healthy and keep leading a healthier lifestyle, that information has hit Barbados like that a lot sooner due to the internet and all that. So I know that the Caribbean is on the forefront of this whole alternative lifestyle, which is actually the natural way of living, coming.
I mean, but we Rasta friends was telling me this for the longest time, right?
Okay,
like we got
then.
Rasta
Okay,
Patch
then. There you go.
in St. Thomas. Yeah.
But Rasta's been saying it forever, forever. So, first should be last, and last should be first.
Right.
Was that the stone that they build the refuge in, the head cornerstone.
Right,
Nobody wants to go there and dig in the mud. Don't go plant food and see what happened there. Everybody dies.
Man, dropping ancient wisdom, boy.
Well,
we all, like steel pulse, we got to get back to our roots.
That's right, man.
And it doesn't matter what color we are. That whole thing, we got to get beyond that and work with each other.
But that's a whole different topic altogether. We can go forever about that when it comes to no matter what color and all that stuff, because that could go real deep. Now I wanted to ask you now. Let's get deep into the marijuana, the MJ.
I like to call it cannabis.
Oh, you just want to call it cannabis?
And I'll tell you why.
Go ahead, my brother.
Because I learned this here, and I can't remember where I learned it. That marijuana is actually a derogatory word.
Oh yeah? Stemming from what?
It is. Because it was, as a sense, like only certain people are associated with it. Just like CBD right now, the whole CBD thing, it's still segregation. It's still a form of racism.
Right.
So there's a difference when you say weed and marijuana and cannabis.
Well, this is the thing about cannabis. Cannabis has THC and it has CBD and a whole bunch of other compounds in it too. What they've found is that they work best together. CBD and THC works best together.
So you mean that when they take out the THC, which is the compound that gives you that euphoria, that when they take that out and they just distill it to the CBD, that you're not getting the most potent form of...
You're not getting the full medical effect.
Okay.
You're not getting the full medical effect because they just one is the carrier for the other.
Right. So let me ask you about the etymology that you're talking about, right? The naming. So so you prefer to go with the terminology that has been given more respect. What do you feel about reclaiming the word that has been used in a derogatory sense before?
Okay, I totally hear that, and that's also to kind of smear it in their face, and I see that. I just feel because it's a derogatory word, I don't even want to use it in my vocabulary.
Okay, I got you. I'll tell you this, right? In Spanish, like it's kind of like the code is to break it up into two different names. So there's this whole song about this guy who fell in love with these two women. One name was Mari and the other name was Juana. So Mari y Juana. So I thank you for that perspective as well. So
if we're gonna go forward to it like in some original way, in the original way we'll call it ganja because ganja comes from Africa.
So that's the
word
original
ganja
word.
comes from Africa.
All right,
So
cool.
if we're going to be straight up like that, just call it ganja.
All right, cool.
But you
cool,
like
cool.
to call it cannabis.
Yes.
I know you have a very good relationship with cannabis. That relationship still going?
Yeah, I have my license, and I work with people who have their license, and I educate them on how they can produce as clean and as healthy cannabis for themselves as possible.
Now,
And
since you mentioned that, I wanted to ask you if you are able to maybe even supply some people over here
no,
in Toronto.
that's the next step is to keep working on the knowledge, like educating myself. So when the time comes, when the thing is legalized, we can form a coalition and go get the commercial license and produce. Yes.
Yeah, well, it's legal here.
It's legal here
but
in
that
Canada.
segregation piece that you brought in, it is legal but still restricted access. And when you look at who is able to access it, it is not representing the number of people who are currently incarcerated for having previously accessed it.
Well, it's like I said, look, like I was saying, and we got a group of people that are making bazillion dollars off of it, and we got another group of people that are still going to jail for it right now in 2020.
So is it? So it's
So
illegal in New
we
Mexico?
have to figure out as a people how to break down molds and how to talk to the politicians and the representatives, the people that we pay, who represent us, to change the laws.
I agree. I agree.
And we can't be afraid, and it's the same thing again. We can't be afraid to get up and go and talk. We don't need to be rude. We don't need to be disrespectful. And if people are afraid to talk, then we find somebody who's a speaker and let that person talk.
I agree, 100%. Now, one other thing. Now, we had a conversation some time ago, maybe a year or two or something ago, and you said you were actually trying to mobilize the officials in Barbados in having some kind of talk about that. How'd that go?
It got through when I was there. I was supposed to have a meeting or two, and it never happened. And I am still open to it.
Okay.
So do you think that, so up here we talking about desegregation and who has access and who's being locked out and all that kind of stuff, but back home within the region, like we've had Gonzales before it was popular talking about in St. Vincent and the Grenadines wanting to industrialize cannabis. We've had some political leaders that have demonstrated some will. What do you think is holding back the ones who are willing to give it a try?
It's because of, if one would say, it's not getting put on a certain list in the sense with their colleagues. Where nobody wants to stand up and be the person, or hey, and tell everybody a bunch of stuff because people are scared because of the laws are still. The man could still come mess with you and stuff. So it takes a lot of courage to be that first person to stand up and say, yeah, I'm for it, and here's the research, and okay, have at it. Yeah, I'm for it.
But is there a certain type of stigma that goes along with persons who actually stand up?
Okay. Take, for instance, we're still dealing with the socio-psychological effect of, what's those movies called? Reefer Madness.
Right.
Those things still have a grip hold of a certain part of the generation, and that part of the generation are the ones who are in power. One of the things I wanted to say too about it, that I strongly feel in my experience in just watching what's going on, the reason they try to keep people off of it, because when you sip on the thing, you can see what's going on. So it's like discouraging the people from sipping the thing, it's part of their job. So,
Right.
I mean, come on, look, the tree of life, the apple, we could go along a bunch of different veins about it.
Right.
Hey,
Right.
I wanted to ask you another thing, which is how much trouble have you ever been in because of this plant?
And them, they try to mess with me.
How? How?
I mean, I got stopped with some, and got a little spank on my hand as a juvenile and stuff, and I was up there at whatever that place is called now, in juvie.
Mm-hmm.
So I know what it's like to have the man pull up on you and be like, hey, hand over what's in your pocket.
Right. Right.
So listen,
Yeah.
Bradley, I'm not ending the conversation, but I wanted to say this before I forget. I'm so proud of you, man, because like I see you as a young man, a young boy, and we all come up through the same kind of lines, and I see it wasn't a bed of roses all the time for you, right? Neither was it for me either, but I'm just saying
Yes.
to see where you at right now in terms of how you've grown. Not that you're a little boy, but you have grown actually in brain. So I'm really proud about that.
Listen, brother, 100% respect, and I say that to my family and my friends here. I say, look, I'm not using this as an excuse for my behavior or my shortcomings. I wish you guys could see how far I have come from that time to this time. So, respect here, brethren.
Yeah, man, of course, because when I look back and I say, look, man, I'm in a few years I'm gonna be 50 years old, right? And I'm saying like,
Yeah.
like I still talk to people who still act as though they're 16 and 17 years old. They still behave and carry on the same way. And to see a man that not all of us are here still. Look how many people have passed out and gone that we knew. So what I'm saying is to see all these years, we got big children, we got young children, and just to see where we're at, we gotta respect each other, man, and say big it up, that we know where we came from. So
And that's why I'm saying about sitting down and talking to each other. That's what I'm saying about, hey, let's just sit down and have a real conversation about what we're trying to achieve here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Like, dialogue is where it starts, right? If we actually want to bring about any change, right? Yeah, for sure.
So
because we can yell from the sidelines all we want, that ain't doing nothing.
So if somebody wanted to jump into permaculture and wanted to know a little bit more, is there any handles you got that they can reach you or maybe reach out to you and hit you a note or something and say, look, I need some information or I need some help or can you guide me, mentor me, anything like that?
Hold on a second, please. I am on Instagram.
Instagram is a thing now, eh?
Right,
Instagram. And people got so much platforms now, which is good.
Right.
People
I
can
am
actually
on
put information out
Instagram at Ryan RBG247.
Say it again.
Ryan RYAN RBG247.
So that's Ryan RB or RPG?
RBG.
RBG.
D.
D?
Yep, revolutionary but gangster.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's from Dead Prez.
I love it, man. I love it, There's a meaning behind all these things, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. So tell me about this revolution that you're a part of, right? In terms of reconnecting the people to their magic, that inner knowledge and whatnot. What would you say is the biggest life lesson that you've taken away from your experience in permaculture?
Observation. Learning how to read patterns by something as simple as observing. So this is what they taught us. The first thing they asked us to do was to go outside. We were in the hills. So we went outside and they said, go outside, put on the phones, everything, and sit in the spot where you're comfortable. Let your eyes go out of focus. Don't hyper focus on anything. Let your eyes go out of focus. Relax yourself, and then see what you can see, but not focusing on one thing or the other. And for me, that has really helped me to see patterns in nature, patterns in people's behavior, my own behavior, patterns in pretty much everything. And that's been the biggest tool for me.
Yeah.
That's helped me, and that has helped me tremendously.
And you know, if anybody has any doubt to what you said previously about hands-on learning and you know how it would help our children, the ability to identify patterns is mathematical training. Right? So you get the children to go outside, you know, we talk about this you know, this foolish way, old way of thinking, if you're working the ground is slave days and all that kind of stuff. Or you got all this big brain and you doing this. No, you do it to support that brain development. You understand?
Yes, nature is Fibonacci.
Exactly. High fives! I'm so happy that somebody else uses words like that.
You don't understand.
Nature is Fibonacci.
You don't understand what you're doing right here. What you're doing right now is like for currently ground in a dictionary. Right? She's a person with a lot of words.
and we're gonna do some no-till applications too, where we don't till the earth up. Where we just sheet mulch and add mulch to the surface, and we just keep building it up and keep building it up and keep building it up.
Restoration.
It's one of the reasons for the Dust Bowl in America is that they tilled it, and when the winds came, it blew it to wherever, like the Middle East or you know, out in the ocean in the Atlantic. And one of the things I learned about why we have to change the tilling in a lot of applications, if not all, is that the first 18 to 24 inches, there's a whole web of microbes and mycelium in there. That when we turn it over to the UV, the UV kills it. And that's where we have started the degradation of the soil. So we want to start doing sheet mulch. Like I remember when we used to run through those banana trees and all of that. And there was always stuff on the ground.
Right.
All that stuff that's on the ground, we're leaving it there.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
You know, we were learning recently about that mycelium.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was saying we were learning recently about the mycelium and this idea that that trees communicate with one another through this amazing network of mycelium, and that these mushrooms that we've been throwing away or hiding from or running from, you know,
so afraid of.
Are so powerful.
Stuff, man. Powerful.
So afraid of because somebody indoctrinated us to tell us don't use it. Meanwhile, they're using it themselves.
And you know, some of these mushrooms are actually help a lot of diseases. They're really powerful, and you know, the stigma behind these things is what kind of lead people away from them.
You know why? Because all these things open up your eyes, then nobody can come fool you.
Right.
I see.
You know, we got some Ganoderma in the cupboard right now, some turkey tails. You know.
I was told that agaricon is really good for fighting off things like COVID and different viruses and stuff like that.
All right, agaricon. All right, cool.
Now you mentioned COVID. What is it like in the area that you are in?
Well, I will tell you that all of a sudden I saw a bunch of out-of-state plates, and then the place getting shut down.
Oh, wow. You know what? I think that, you know, like we're gonna probably talk about COVID and the conspiracy theories surround COVID in another show. But you know, there's so much stuff going on with COVID. I believe that part of it is true and part of it is real. But oh my God, like everywhere, there seems to be a pattern, and I hope that the naysayers and the people who got their conspiracy theories are completely wrong. I just hope that's so. I really just hope so.
So I'll say a few things. It's on the spiritual side of things, in my observation, whether it was physically introduced or whatever, it's because we need to take care of each other and better with our hygiene, with our health, all around. So it has manifested because of that. I feel.
Now, one thing that I
need
mean,
to,
sorry, go ahead.
and this comes from Barbados. In Barbados, you don't know people. Pretty much everybody drives fast and speaks to each other. And I have to tell you, I love that. I will tell you, I love that. Here, people, you try to speak to them, they're like, "Why are you trying to talk to me?"
Right, looking at you weird, right?
Yeah, yeah. They're like, "What's wrong with you?" So that's one of the things too, where in that space of like one love. One love is action. You know, like Natalie Rice said, one love is action. And we really have to get to that place where we care for each other and we care for ourselves on a whole different level.
That's right. That's right. Now, since COVID and we kind of slowed down a little bit, I think that might be a good thing. What do you think?
Yes, what I'm going to say to that is that every 100 years a plague has come, and it's been the year of the rat. Right?
Oh, I never even
Is
noticed
it
that.
the year of the rat this year?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Something you must realize after the plagues has happened, the Renaissance came afterwards.
Yes.
So we are at the forefront of the energy that's getting set up for the next 100 years.
I see. Now, just to be a little bit controversial, but is this is a Chinese rat?
Yeah.
No, sorry. It's based on a year.
Okay.
Don't get caught up with the people, or don't get caught up with the people and that whole scene or nothing like that. It's based on the year that you were born in.
Absolutely. I just trying to be a little bit, stupid, but I just thought I'd throw it out there like that because the whole controversy around the virus where it originated from, and so forth.
Wait, what's your Chinese zodiac sign, Bradley?
I'm a tiger.
Okay, I'm a dragon. I don't know. Do you know what you are, D? I can't remember.
I don't remember. I think I looked it up one time, but it didn't really mean much to me, so I didn't really pay attention.
What year are you, brother?
73, July.
Year July?
Yeah. Let me see. I'm checking it. Ox, yeah.
Really strong.
And stubborn.
I remembered how you played soccer.
Oh.
Oh, you hit the right chord there, Bradley.
See how you play soccer? That's off-fight. Like, nobody's just pushing you over like that. You're the slender dude, but nobody just pushing you over.
I appreciate that, man. Hey, listen.
See how life is?
Sorry?
I say, see how life is?
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah.
The things we observe about.
Sorry, I have a
sometimes we
question.
don't even realize it.
It's true. It's very true till they come
true,
back around.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
I have a question. I got another stupid question. So, you in New Mexico, right? Have you ever seen a UFO? And if you saw it, were you under any influence or not?
Interesting that you say that.
Ooh, please tell me.
The times when I've seen them or what I perceived, because what I saw, I was watering my plants and I was outside at night. And I saw something. And as soon as my consciousness came to the consciousness of it, like the cloak,
right?
Like in the movies, how the same cloak, I was gone. Not far from where I live, if you drive up the valley, there is a UFO observation where you go and you look for UFOs. Where you go out there, there's nothing out there. And it says like UFO, look out here.
Wow.
Well, you know what? Because
let me show you something. Look, in the Bible, they talk. I'm not like big Bible Christian, whatever. I'm just showing you these things because things got a bunch of different codes in it. They talk about wheels of fire, chariots of fire. That's just how they broke it down so that we could understand. There's these texts talking about King Solomon showing up on a magic carpet in Tibet.
Yeah, we just talked about that.
I was talking to one of my brethren. He's Indian, and I said Vimana Yashra, and he's like, "How do you know about that?" Well, Vimana Yashra is this craft that you get on, and you have to be on a certain diet with a certain meditation, and the craft can move. See, nothing is new under the sun. Here it is.
That's some deep stuff, man.
Yeah, man, for real. We're gonna let the people settle and simmer with that one for a little bit.
Here it is,
I've spoken to a few people here about UFOs, and I was saying earlier that the people shared with me their sightings of UFOs. I mean, like today, right now, probably could be categorized as like maybe stealth jets or whatever, but people have drones. It could be a lot of things, but the fact is that people have confessed to me that they've seen stuff in broad daylight that look really odd.
Okay, check this out. Why is it that man is the only living being in the whole entire fucking galaxy? Excuse my language.
Well, mathematically speaking, it is statistically unreasonable to believe that Earth is the only planet with billions of galaxies that supports life. As to whether or not we've interacted, I don't know.
Here are some words for you. Enoch, right?
Yeah.
Anunnaki.
Yes.
Okay, Elijah and Enoch in the Bible. They were two people who didn't die. There you go.
Hey, this is a deep stuff, man.
For real. Listen, I don't. Do you you on Netflix? I gonna send you a documentary if you are. I've been getting more and more into this documentary series. I'll slide it to you on Instagram.
Hey, listen. on a different note, right, Bradley? This is the first night that Nadia is not falling asleep.
Listen, I'm barely making it right now, okay? But this is very interesting nonetheless.
Okay.
Every time we do a show, she's falling asleep.
I got some resources for the people that listen, and these are books.
All right, cool.
Victor Pasternak, that's the author, Designed for the Real World. Edible Forest Garden. Barefoot Architect. Natural Way to Farm. The Golden Brow. Forgotten Guild. GUILDS. And the Owner Built Homestead.
All right.
Ken Kern.
All right, we can beg you to slide that to us in WhatsApp so we could put it like on the Facebook, and so people could catch that later, right?
We can post it as well so that we can share that information. Also share any other information about you.
Absolutely.
Now, is there any before we finish off our little conversation here? I just want to know if there's anything else that you want to share or spread to the listeners out there.
It's just telling them to observe, to go and sit down and observe. Because the society has us like in this doing. As soon as you're not doing something, something's wrong with you. You're not being productive or something. So go have a minute, because we're in this space where we're kind of arrested with this coronavirus thing. So now is the perfect time to sit down and observe. Stop getting so freaked out about something that hasn't even happened. And just humble, just really humble oneself and look at nature, see how nature responds, and take some examples from there.
I wanted to ask you this. do you think in this 2020, 2021, and in a few years,
2020 perfect vision.
that's right. That's right, my man. That's right. But I wanted to ask you this: is there actually could we as people if there's a lot of people jump into the cannabis business, can it survive and can people still make a living and can people do it without cutting down each other or is it only for a small segment of our society?
That's very interesting that you said that because everything that you just said, you have it's the answers on the other side, and I'm going to say yes.
I see. Because the reason why I used to always go ahead.
We can do it, but we have to be honest and look at the permaculture model. Use permaculture as the example of how we would want to set up a business and go from there.
Right.
Okay.
With the 5 kingdoms of nature: plants, animals, algae, fungus, and bacteria. And look and see how those 5 kingdoms work in symbiosis with each other, and then use that example and put that in a business model.
Now, and the other question, another step to my question really is, since like in Canada, cannabis is legal, right? And people can get it, and people can actually grow about
four trees.
I think I think you can have 3
trees.
3
Okay.
trees to each house if you want
up
to
to
grow.
a certain height or something. So
I'm not sure about the height, but I know about the number, and I'm just wondering if that progress. Do you think that the fad surround smoking and so forth for cannabis, if that would fade away, or people would embrace it?
I think you're going to have both. There's always going to be that polarity.
I see.
Right.
Because of indoctrination. I know that there'll be people who will be abusing the whole thing, and that has the potential to make it for bad for the people who are honestly doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Right.
And I also know there are just going to be those people that they're really stuck in that old world model. And they're not going to let that go for nothing. So, are we moving with the times, or are we moving with the times?
Well, that whole world that done, because people are moving.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, people are moving on. They can pounce on that forever, but people moving on and time moving on.
I have to say midnight reggae and Eki Becky reggae too. Just do some studying there. Listen to Vaughn and see what Vaughn has to say.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, like for real. Real. 'Cause,
Nadia, do you have any more?
I have so much more, but we can't squeeze it all into tonight's show. But I definitely want to say thank you to you, Bradley, for coming on, for being so authentic and down to earth and so open with your knowledge and being willing to share with the people. And at the end of that book that we was talking about, it said he that hath the ear to hear, let him hear. So who would receive what they want to will go away with what they have to go with from tonight. But I want to thank you for putting it out there and making it available to the people so we could hear and learn and grow together.
Right, Alana. Thank you very much for having me on. I want to say a couple more things that in New Mexico, there's this thing called paying it forward. And the privilege and the knowledge that I've been given, this is my way of paying it forward to my people or to just the people of the world, if you want to say it like that. That I got the chance to change my life, and I was able to change my life, so I recognize that. And so from that, a lot of compassion came.
Right.
That's good,
and
man.
that's why I'm able to share in this way.
Amazing. Thank you.
Those are some very good words, and really appreciate you coming on tonight. It's been a pleasure. We should do this again. I hope hopefully soon. And
yes, I would love to talk some more for sure.
Yes.
And collaborate and get things going in the physical and for sure.
Yes, definitely. So again,
It's
thank
time.
you. I really appreciate it, and we'll chat next time.
Yes.
Thank you very much, you guys.
Good
nice to meet you,
night.
Nadia.
You
Thank you,
too.
Derek.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Boom
You-
Shiva. Selassie.
Yes, man. Bless. Give thanks.
Good
Bless.
night.